Hi, Abdel here from Success Generator. We help experts, consultants, and coaches build and manage complete sales systems that would easily add another 5 to 6 figure revenue to their businesses. Now, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about webinar funnels, right? So it is 2023 and you're still going to the idea of running a webinar funnel, right? You want to run a webinar funnel, but you're not sure if it's going to work in 2023. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, straight up. Webinar funnels have become a lot more challenging to run comparing to, let's say, 5 to 6 to 7 years, earlier, because the circumstances that made webinar funnels work and be money printing systems are not the same as today's circumstances. All right, and we're gonna talk about those circumstances and what has really changed, but I'm also going to give you some tips on how you can maximize your chances of making your webinar funnel a success. So let's go. So let's start by talking about what makes running webinars in 2023 so much challenging than it was 7, 10, or 15 years ago, right? So let's start with the first challenge, which is the cost of running a webinar or building a webinar. Webinars have always been expensive to run. Let's look at that straight up. They have never been so cheap to actually build and run. Tools that run in webinar actually have a little bit, the costs have a little bit decreased a little bit, but it's still expensive to run, right? Tools that you use to run webinars, such as the platform that's going to host your webinar, the email automation platforms, the system that you build on your landing pages, the people that you hire to write the copy, right? Effective copy, and write your script and manage the whole thing, and your emails. All of this can add up and actually become expensive to build a webinar. All right, but the thing that has been working in favor for webinars, even though they were just a new thing, but also they were expensive to run, is that people were interested in hopping on webinars. It was a new idea, it was a new thing for people to hop on a conference, all right, or a class for 2 to 3 hours and get free stuff, right? Before webinar get ruined, they were actually giving people free value for their time. And at the end, they would plug a service or a product or a solution to help those people further, increase, give more value, or actually, have a solution for whatever problem they're struggling with right now. So people were interested in webinars, even though they were not really interested. They would still hop on the webinar, get a few notes, and then hop off, or maybe even purchase the program. But now that has become a lot challenging, because that brings us to the second challenge, which is people now have a weird idea about webinars, right? It's not the same thing. It's not the same excitement. People know, because this type of funnel has been abused by a lot of experts and a lot of marketing people that use this webinar to just speak about themselves endlessly, and at the end provide no value, but also shamelessly have a plug and invite people to join the training. And so people have this weird idea about webinars that they don't provide any value, they waste your time, and at the end you absolutely can expect a plug at the end of the webinar. So you're dealing with this kind of challenge if you decide to run a webinar in 2023. Now let's go to the second challenge about having this type of funnel in 2023, which is ads. So ads have, with no doubt, become more expensive to run compared to how it was 5 or even like 4 years ago, right? Even before those restrictions on privacy that made tools like Facebook or Google have less data about people, about their behaviors, about their usage on their platforms. So the targeting has become more challenging, but also the ads cost have risen up to become not really affordable to run this sort of funnel. All right. Now, the last challenge that I can think of, there are a lot of challenges out there, but I decided to only mention four, which is a huge challenge that we're dealing with. Us, marketers and people who create, valuable content, which is the attention span, right? A lot of people have low attention span now, and it's decreasing every year, right? With short form content, with reels, TikToks, it's become more challenging to hook people for more than 10 minutes, right? Or even less. So you're dealing with this kind of challenge to be able to have people stay on your webinar for 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, and actually converting them at the end of the webinar. So you're gonna have a lot of people dropping off of the webinar after just a few minutes, all right? And you should be expecting this. So all of these challenges are making webinars in 2023 a lot more expensive and a lot more difficult to run. But there is hope, all right? I'm gonna give you some tips on how you can maximize your chances of having a successful webinar. It's not going to be the same thing as it used to be, let's say 10 years ago, but if you have the right, let's say, circumstances right now, you can still make a webinar a success. So let's jump into the core topic. So let's talk about how you can make your webinar a success even in 2023. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, like the first tip I want to give you is do not call it a webinar. All right. People have this weird idea about webinars. A lot of people have abused webinars with the name webinar in the past. And so there is this misconception and this, let's say false belief, although some of this is quite true about webinars that you're fighting against when you call your webinar a webinar, right? Use other terms, use training, use one of the terms that have been working really good lately, which is case study, right? Use web class, call it a workshop, all right? And do not just call it a webinar, because you're setting yourself up for failure when you do that. So give it any other name except the name webinar. That is the first step that you need to do, all right? So the second thing is, you cannot afford to test a new offer on a webinar, right? This time where you just have your webinar recorded and build a whole system on it or around it and run traffic to it and have people sign up is all gone, all right? Now it has become more challenging to get people registered for any kind of event. So what you need to do is only build a webinar around an offer that has been proven to work within your niche or audience, all right? So what I mean by that is you have a service or you have a product, all right? That product needs to have at least worked or proven to be working, or at least you're gonna need a proof that this product is desirable for your audience. And what is the best proof for this is that you already have clients who converted with that same offer. For example, you have a one-on-one coaching program, and instead of running a webinar to that program, you should first test the offer, all right? Make it better. Until you have people signing up for your program, then if you want to maximize the potential of your offer, you're going to build an automated system that is going to bring you a lot more revenue, right? That's when you can build a webinar offer, right? So how you can test an offer before building a webinar around it, you can share it on your socials, you can run some kind of ads to it, or you can do one of the things if you're offering a service or any kind of program, which is building an application funnel. So I have a complete video walking you through step by step how to build the best application funnel for your service. All right, and I'm gonna link it down in the description. You can go and watch that video because I'm not going to get into details about how you can build an application funnel. But basically, what you're gonna need is you're gonna have at least 2 pages. All right, an application funnel is going to be way less expensive than a webinar funnel, and also it's going to be easy to build and way in a short amount of time. All right, it's a quick build. So all you need is 2 pages. All right, 2 landing pages. First is going to have like a short video, all right, 5 minutes, and some kind of a copy where you outline who you are, your expertise, the services that you offer, and you offer people a free session, right? Invite them for a free session and tell them what kind of value they can expect from that free session, right? If that offer actually converts, you know that you have something worth scaling, worth expanding on, all right? That's when you can try with a webinar funnel, but not before, not in 2023. Another thing that I want to give you is that you need to follow up with people who register for your webinar. Do not just send them reminders about where the webinar is going to start. All right, people receive tons of emails on their inbox, and so in order for you to stand out and make them remember who you are and remember that they have just registered for an event, you should follow up as quickly as possible. And you can do that by implementing what we call a warm-up sequence. Basically, as soon as people sign up, all right, you're gonna send them a confirmation email about confirming they have registered for the event with the event information. And then you're gonna send them a bunch of emails introducing yourself, introducing, telling them a little bit about your story, share with them some, success stories about people who work with you or yourself. But all has to be in context to the webinar topic, all right? Do not send them things that are completely unrelated to what they're just signed up for. Just send them things that are related to the event that they have signed up for. This way, they can remember who you are, they can remember also the webinar, and they will be way more, they will look forward to to attend the event, all right? Instead of just forgetting about you and not knowing exactly or not remembering that they have just signed up for an event, all right? So you should use that follow-up emails. And also after the webinar, depending on how each prospect or how each individual actually interact with your webinar, they left before a certain minute, they stayed until a certain minute, they saw the offer but did not purchase. The tools today that are available to run a webinar, like Webinar Jam, EverWebinar, and other tools, will provide you with such features that you can optimize and maximize the potential of your webinar. All right. Now, one other thing is that your webinar has to be less frequent, right, when you start. Specifically, if you're just starting your build to webinar around an offer that is let's say has not really generated a lot of revenue for you, and you still want to build a webinar around it. So it is a great way to test your offer for the webinar. All right. Although, as I said, you will not build a webinar around an offer that has zero potential or proven to work. All right. You're gonna need some proof of concept before building a webinar, right? But it's still in the test phase when you launch your webinar. So make it less frequent, right? Make it on weekends, once per week. All right. So this allows you to gather a lot more people for the event. All right. And have people, receive your follow-up emails, right? Instead of just like start a webinar now or start a webinar, tomorrow. You not have a lot of time to send people proper emails with proper wait times. All right. You're gonna have to send them like 10 emails in a single day, which is too much. So make it once per week, all right, and make a deadline where people can sign up. For example, 3 days before the webinar, the sign up stops. So you can send people those warm-up emails and have them wait for the webinar, all right? And also this gives a little more makes it a little more genuine, right? Make it have like that live webinar effect, unless you want to do it live. I'm speaking mostly about automated webinars or recorded webinars. Yeah, you might want to do it live first, and then if it works great, you can input that recording into the next webinars that you're gonna do. Now, the one more tip I want to give you is, which is very, very crucial. All right, I've already talked about this, and which is the length of the webinar. You're gonna have to make it short. All right, you're gonna have a challenge, to be honest, getting people for a 1 hour webinar or staying up to 1 hour webinar, but thinking about making it 2 or 3 hours is just going to be like not working, and not a lot of people are going to stick till the end of that event. All right, I'm mostly speaking about Western countries here. If you're making a webinar for Western countries, because maybe in other countries they're not really used to webinars, so you might have more success getting people to stay longer than 2 hours or 3 hours. But when it comes to the US, UK or Canada or whatever those countries those actually the big five, they are used to webinar. They know what webinar is, and they will not stay, for more than 1 hour. I mean, that's going to be a challenge, and people are used to short form content, and so make your webinar short and give value during the webinar, but also speak about the solution. All right, have a smoothless transition where you speak about your offer, optimize the offer, give them a lot more value than what they're paying for. Use the perfect webinar script from Russell Brunson. It works great for any kind of industry. And those are the tips that if you apply today in 2023 with when you're building a webinar, I'm sure you're gonna have the best potential to make it a success. I mean, it all comes down to your offer, right? How great your offer is. But if your offer has proven to work and you already got some clients signed up for your offer before making a webinar, I'm sure you're gonna have a great time running this webinar and making great results. All right, so that's it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed and liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All right, and share with anyone you think might find this video helpful. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and catch you guys on the next video. Bye bye.